Now, let's move to another important aspect on which the economy of a country is built, that is infrastructure. During the British regime, of course, they improved the infrastructure of the country, but the motive behind this improvement was not the welfare of the people. The motive was to see that their trade flourishes and they are able to reach out in quicker and better ways in India. So, the motive here also remained very selfish, wherein the Indians were not kept in mind, but the motive was only profit and profit alone. The Britishers tried to build in good roads in India, though not many, because of the lack of resources or money. But the roads that they built had the motive of mobilizing the army and also to see that the raw material is transported from one place to another in an easier and quicker manner. So, one calls for actually seeing to the fact that they continue to be the masters of India, and the other one is definitely profit and profit alone. So, the roads were just for their own selfish interest. The Indians always faced the shortage of all weather roads, and this was ever a problem even to the Britishers. In the far-flung areas of India, the roads would almost vanish during the rainy season. The Britishers opened railways in India in the year 1850, and the first railway line was built between Bombay and Thane. Of course, the railways did bring about some relief to the Indians, that is, when Indians used the railways, this broke the geographical barriers amongst the Indians. They could easily move from one place to another. They could talk it out to each other what their grievances were, and they could unite themselves against their common foe, that is the Britishers. The other part of the coin is that this led to commercialization of agriculture, which means again a setback to the Indians, as they would be less of the fodder crops. But this unity which the railways gave to the Indians overpowered the negative effect of commercialization of agriculture. The Britishers also tried to improve the inland trade and the sea lanes in India. But the costly affair that they took up on the coastal canal at Orissa was nothing compared to the big success of the railways at that time. If they improved upon the telegraph system in India, it was not to see to the convenience of the Indians and not to give them a public facility as such. It was to maintain law and order in the country. That is, whenever they heard of any kind of outbreak, they could immediately pass on an order to suppress the revolution, or from there they could receive the news that something is wrong and they could reinforce the forces there. They could actually send in more troops to suppress the revolt. So, whether it was roads, railways or inland trade, sea lanes or the telegraph, all the infrastructure which was built in the country, in India by the Britishers, was meant for their own selfish interest of staying on in India, of stabilizing themselves in India for maintaining proper control in India, for suppressing the Indians, for bringing about more and more profit to themselves, and nothing to improve the economy or the infrastructure of the country. So, the conclusion that we can draw out of the chapter is that the Indians at this time lived in grim situation. There was no improvement in any of the sector, agricultural, industrial, or the infrastructure. Everything was meant to just improve the mother country, Britain, and to act as a feeder economy to that country. It would take a long time before we actually become independent and start developing our economy. And that's the end of the chapter. Thank you.